Hello everyone, welcome to a new video on my channel. I'm Adam and yeah, it's been a while. Um yeah, I have not uploaded videos for nearly a month now. Um Truth is I've been quite busy with a few things that's been happening. As you can see from a previous video I did and this one, I have changed the layout of my room a little bit. So now I'm now facing that and my posters are to the side. And my calendar, which was up there, is no longer there because gravity happened. So disappointing for me. Now, the whole reason why I'm recording this video is because I decided I wanted to start a new series on my channel. Whether I finish it or not, I don't know, or continue it. Sorry, I'm hoping to finish it, but I don't know. I have a really bad reputation when it comes to doing these kinds of series on my channel. But this is a Simpsons review. So one of my favorite TV shows to watch is The Simpsons. And I thought, yeah, you know what? Yeah, I'm gonna watch the episodes and review them because they're available on Disney Plus. I got the inspiration from the idea from LS Mark, who is probably well known for watching every single Simpsons episode in one video. Now, as I'm not a psychopath, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to go season one video per season. Um, and that is pretty much what I'll be doing. I'll be doing the whole review of each episode in the order that it's been released on um, the streaming service I use, as well as I'll be reviewing it similar to how I do my Beast reviews on Beast Quest, which will be story, humor, sentimentality, and enjoyment. Those are the four attributes I'll be using to give them a score on. And humor and sentimentality, you may think it just crisscrosses there and doesn't give a good impression on it, and you'll be right. It humor and sentimentality are pretty much polar opposites, and when it comes to reviewing something and you need to take both into account, it can seriously hinder a really good episode with its score. And I know that because it happened the other day. So as of the time I'm recording this, I'm currently midway through season 7. And with one of the episodes, it was really funny, but there was no sentimentality in it, which really shot that episode down a lot with the scoring. But I think it's still an alright score for that episode. So after I review each episode per season, I'll be doing the grand totals, saying what the percentage is on how much percentage their score got, and then ranking each episode in that season from my least favorite to my favorite. So with that being said, let's get into this. Bear in mind this is my opinion, so your opinions may be different. So we're going to start things off with episode 1 of season 1, which is Simpsons roasting on an open fire. Now this is obviously the first episode of The Simpsons, and already it starts off being one of my favorites because not many people actually remember the first episode of The Simpsons being a Christmas special. Um, and was the this is for series 1 in general. Whilst the animation is a bit scratchy and the crowds are a bit silly to look at, it series 1 focuses more on the sentimental side of the episodes. So this is probably the season where the sentimentality is going to be quite high. Looking at the scores now, when I was watching it, clearly I was thinking otherwise, but these are still good scores. So we're going to start things off with the story for episode 1, which I'm going to give a 6 to. And because I've already gone through so many episodes at the moment, but please forgive me if I happen to mistake a story with another one. But with Simpsons roasting on open fire, Homer and Marge are currently experiencing some money problems, and Homer wants to take it upon himself to try and make the perfect Christmas for his family and not have Marge worry about it because he doesn't want Marge to know. Overall, the story is alright. I do like the story. However, I gave it a 6. Looking back, I'll probably give it a 7, but I'm going to go with the scores that I gave it now. I gave the score for story a 6 because it's a good story, and whilst there could be more creative stories down the road, I think this is a good episode to show how much Homer actually does care for his family. And the ending for it was is very enjoyable and very heartwarming as well. Like, very good. Humor is a 5 out of 10. Unfortunately, it doesn't have as many jokes, but it does have a fair few, which did make me laugh. And I think summing up, the funniest part of this episode is most likely got to be Homer pretending to be a shopping mall Santa, which I found kind of funny. For Sentimentality, I'm going to give it a 7 because as I said with the story, it shows how much Homer actually cares for his family. And wrapping it up with the ending that I had with Homer and Bart bringing home Santa's little helper and everyone just being content with that, I think shows that it doesn't matter how rich you need to be for a good Christmas, as long as it's something that they enjoy. It's hard to say, but I gave it a 7 because it is a nice ending, and you get lots of emotions from Homer in this episode. Enjoyment, I'm going to give a 6 out of 10 to. Now, spoiler alert, for most of the scores when it comes to enjoyment, it's probably going to be, most of the time, it's going to be the same as the story score. And this is just my overall opinion on the episode, just saying, I think it's alright. I do like lots of the episodes though, so I'm trying to be strict on myself, but yeah, 6 for this episode is quite good. Total for the first episode is 24 out of 40. Now, is that a good score? I don't know. It seemed like a good score when it first happened, we first saw it, but as time went on, it kind of got shown it's not. But episode 1 is still a good episode, and if I was to rescore it, it would probably be very close to 30. And same with other episodes as well. Sorry, there's a plane flying over my house at the moment. Episode 2 is Bart the Genius. Now, with story, it's basically Bart cheats on the test and he gets sent to a gifted school with gifted students, and he gets very, very quickly shown he's out of his element there, which is going to give it 4 out of 10. Humour, I'm going to give it 5 out of 10 because it was relatively funny. I like the bonds that Bart had with Homer in this episode, and Sentimentality is a 3 because whilst there was a fair amount of that bond between Homer and Bart, there was nothing much else after that, or between that, or before that. Just that. Enjoyment for this episode is going to be a 5 out of 10, and I relatively did enjoy it. But I still prefer the previous episode more, so that's why I just had to give it a 5. The total for that episode is 17 out of 40. Episode 3 is Homer's Odyssey. The story is a 7 out of 10. Now, I do understand why this episode is rather dislikes among the community, because, well, we're the 3rd episode into the entire series, and Homer already tries to take his own life. Okay. But for me, I thought that was depressing, yes, but then what happened afterwards is down to earth, relatable, but progressed on to what is a story which most other cartoons would not do. Humour is a 4 out of 10 because, like with the whole taking his own life thing, it didn't focus more on the jokes. It just focused more on the sentimental side. Speaking of which, Sentimentality, I gave a 5 out of 10 to. Because after, building up to when Homer takes his own life, it was sentimental. But then after that, for the remaining, I don't know how many minutes, maybe 10, 12, nothing. Like, nothing sentimental about it. It's just Homer putting up signs everywhere, just trying to be a safe person. So I had to shoot down the sentimentality there a bit. Enjoyment is a 6 out of 10. I do enjoy this episode to watch. I do understand why it's very dislikes, but for me, that does not change the fact that it's actually a good episode. So yeah, moving on. Episode 4 is there's no disgrace like wait. The total for Homer's Odyssey is 22 out of 40. Sum it up, it's alright. I mean, it's alright. I did enjoy it. I don't know what you want from me. Episode 4 is There's No Disgrace Like Home. Story is a 6 out of 10. Basically, Homer sees his family as a very dysfunctional family and takes the family to therapy by selling the TV. Yeah, that's something that Homer would never do in the current episodes. But in this one, it shows that he does care for his family, cares for their well-being, and wants to try and have that picture-perfect family. Humor is a 6 out of 10, especially in the therapy center. It's kind of funny, actually. Just seeing them beat each other with sticks or shock each other repeatedly, even shocking Maggie. Why is Maggie hooked up to that electric chair or a shocking therapy device? I'll never know. It was kind of funny, though. Sentimentality is a 3 out of 10 because whilst I can see why some people would think this episode is quite sentimental, being honest when I say they don't really show that much sentimentality when it comes to the whole family saying, at least we can bond over joint hatred of therapy. No, I didn't even say that. It's just like, okay, therapy didn't work, let's get a new TV. Done. Enjoyment is a 5 out of 10. I would say what made me enjoy this episode the most is maybe Dr. Marvin Monroe, because whilst he's not a very popular character and I don't adore him as a character, I found him interesting trying to find the problem that's with the Simpsons. But he can't, so he just gave up. But other than that, it's just typical family quarrels, and that's it. I'm going to ignore the Mr. Burns picnic thing because that, to me, is just filler. But it does set up why Homer wanted to take his family to therapy. Enjoyment is a 20 out of 40. It's alright. I don't know what I'm expected to say here. There's tons of episodes here, and I can't use different words for each episode repeatedly. But for There's No Disgrace Like Home. Like, I like the episode, but I like most of the season 1 episodes. So, yeah. Episode 5 is Bart the General. Story is a 6 out of 10. Bart is getting bullied by Nelson. Speaking of which, first appearance from Nelson, so yes. And then he enlists the help of his dad, who says, just fight him, or enlists the help of his mum, just ignore him, or enlists the help of Grandpa Simpson. Nice. Grandpa Simpson says, what you need to do is go to war with him. Brings him to Herman, who, by the way, is hilarious in this episode, and builds an army of elementary school students, training them to beat Nelson. And this goes into the humor category, which is 7 out of 10. Because I find the whole idea of raising an army of elementary school students hilarious, but also how Abe, also what Abe says to Bart when it comes to saying you can shout at them, you can berate them, you can insult your squad, but you can never hit them. I find that funny, and I don't know why. And then Herman, of course, went crazy on a sandbag. That is, it just made me think, this guy's nuts, and he is nuts. But the humor is a really funny episode. Probably it's the funniest one that we've had so far because it didn't focus on the sentimental side. Speaking of which, Sentimentality is a 3 out of 10 because it didn't really have much. I could have given it a lower score, but the reason why I didn't is because the closest thing to sentimental in there is that it made Bart and Grandpa Simpson, or I'm going to call him Abe from now, Bart and Abe just grow a bond with each other. And it started a very love-hate, mainly hate relationship between Bart and Nelson. But there were a couple other stuff in here which I'm maybe forgetting, but that is the main reason why the sentimentality score is low as it is. Enjoyment is a 6 out of 10. For the enjoyment, most of the time it's going to be the same as the story. I do really enjoy this episode. And why I didn't give it a higher score is because I don't have the nostalgia towards it as I do for other episodes, but it's also not the. It's not an episode which I have nostalgia towards, but it's also I know that it can be better if there was some other stuff added onto it or taken away. But other than that, it's still an alright episode, but nostalgia for me just says no. When I think of classic Simpsons, unfortunately, Bart the General's not what I think of. Episode 6 is Moaning Lisa. This is an episode which I think of when I think of classic Simpsons. Story is a 7 out of 10. Lisa is sad and no one knows why. So, in an effort to just, I guess, clear her head, she wanders around the town and encounters Bleeding Gums Murphy. He's a great character, I just need to say. And after jazz time with him, that sentence got away from me. After spending some time with him, Lisa feels a bit better, but at the end still sad. Marge tragedy brings in a parenting technique which her mum did on her, but then after witnessing it firsthand, she says no, and changes it up, which I'm going to go into the sentimentality with that point later. Humor is a 4 out of 10. Apart from the B plot between Bart and Homer and the boxing video game, there's nothing much else to say about the humor because it's funny, but it's just to captivate people's attention from this episode because there are some people who won't like the sentimental episodes. So that's why it's a 4 because it's amusing, but I'm more here for the main plot, which is Lisa. Sentimentality is a 7 out of 10. And was looking back, I'll probably give it a higher score now. I think the sentimentality is still a good score for 7. And basically, at the end, Marge says, if you want to be sad, you can be sad. We'll ride it with you. From now on, I'll do the smiling. I got goosebumps saying it right now. It's a great ending and parenting points for Marge because I know in the future seasons you're going to lose those parenting points. But good parent award for Marge there. Just saying, express how you feel. We will be with you no matter what you're like, and I'll do the smiling for you. Like, come on, that's brilliant. So that is for the main reason for the sentimentality, and then seeing the bond that Lisa gets with Bleeding Gums Murphy is just the icing on the cake there. It's not a higher score, and I'll let you know right now, when it comes to sentimentality, the only time I'll ever give it a 10 is if it actually makes me shed a tear. So I like to consider myself a I like to consider myself very emotionless, but I do get emotional at times. Because there are some episodes here which do have a 10 out of 10 for sentimentality, but they're in the future seasons. Enjoyment for this episode is a 6, because whilst I know I could have given it a 7, I gave it a 6 because the B plot between Bart and Homer did shoot it down for me, and when I think of this episode, it's normally the reason why I wouldn't be very into wanting to click on it. But I would still go to it every now and then, but other than that, yeah, 6. Episode 7 is The Call of the Simpsons. The Simpsons Go Wild, as it's called, as I call it. Story, 4 out of 10. Homer gets an RV, takes it into the forest with his family. It crashes and explodes, and then Homer and Bart had to survive in the wild because they got separated from Marge and Lisa, who are also surviving, but they're living their life. Homer and Bart, they're just suffering, and Maggie is the leader of a group of bears. No. And then there's a Bigfoot plot that comes along afterwards, which I also don't like. The main part I liked about it, and this goes into the humour part as well, being 4 out of 10 as well, unfortunately. The character I like the most in this episode is the car salesman, who's really trying to rip Homer off, but is also kind of funny in the way that he does it, where he's trying to flatter Homer, but also makes him lose as much money as he can. I do enjoy the car salesman. He's not the best character, but he's enjoyable. I liked him. Sentimentality, 1 out of 10. There's honestly nothing sentimental about this episode, and no matter how many times you make me watch it, I will still agree with myself that there's nothing sentimental about this episode. Enjoyment is a 4 out of 10. Honestly, I just went with the average score. But for the enjoyment of this episode, I only gave it a 4 because whilst I don't particularly enjoy this episode, I know there's going to be a lot more which I dislike a hell of a lot more. Total is 13 out of 40. This episode, honestly, what happened? It was on an uphill trajectory from the past 3 episodes. Yeah. And then it just shot down. Lowest score of this season. What happened? Episode 8 is The Telltale Head. Story is a 6 out of 10, but bonds with the Jimbo Dolphin Kearney, and after having a bit of cloud staring talk, Bart goes to the extent to cut off the head of Jebediah Springfield, the statue of Jebediah Springfield, who was it's because they were talking about how funny it would be, or how funny it'll be. Just seeing how the whole town reacted to the head of the statue being cut off, including Jimbo Dolphin Kearney and Mr. Burns as well. It shows how much that statue actually meant to them. Which is, I'll get to that with the sentimentality. But humour is a 5 out of 10 because I do enjoy the bonding between Jimbo Dolphin Kearney with Bart, which I found kind of funny. Not to mention, there was a couple other jokes in there which I found kind of funny, but ultimately I settled with the halfway point there because it's not the funniest episode of this season and it's not the most boring episode. Sentimentality is a 5 out of 10. This goes with everyone's reaction to the head being cut off, but because I only gave it a 5, there's a problem with that, and that is, well, everyone's just given the same reaction. Then there's Bart having that guilt trip around him because he's only trying to impress people who is also annoyed with him. So I just had to give it midway point there. Enjoyment is a 6 out of 10, and I gave it a 6 because when I first watched this episode, I was like, oh, this is actually a good episode. Would I watch it again? No. Unfortunately, this is the same for the most of the series 1 episodes. Total is 22 out of 40. Now, don't get me wrong, I do enjoy this episode, but unfortunately, with the 22, I'm just setting it down there. Gonna leave it there. See you later. Episode 9 is Life on the Fast Lane. Oh my god, this episode. Story is a 6 out of 10. Homer gives Marge a very inappropriate birthday gift for her by giving her a bowling ball with the intention for him to use it. So Marge ends up going bowling out of spite and ends up having an affair with Jacques, who, can I just say, is a brilliant character, by the way. But then towards the end of it, let me get to that with the sentimentality. Humor's a 5 out of 10. Jacques has all that humor given to him there. And the only reason it's a 5, because he's brilliant. Everyone else is mid-tier. So, 5. Sentimentality is a 7 out of 10. Now, all the sentimentality from this episode just shows how upset Homer is about all this, because he never actually knows about the affair. He just knows something's going on. And the fear in his eyes that Marge is going to leave him just lingers in him and sets this kind of atmosphere to where it gets sentimental. This is in the last 5 minutes, have you know. And then whilst Marge is on her way to see Jacques, she has a choice to either go to the power plant where Homer works or to Jacques' house or apartment. Marge chooses the power plant, and throughout the entire scene of Marge walking in the power plant looking for Homer, through to Homer carrying Marge out of the power plant, oh my god, goosebumps again. It's a good ending, and it's normally the reason why I would watch this episode, because of the ending being so nice and perfect. Sentimentality though is a 7 though, because, well, that's all at the end. Damn it. But it was really good. Enjoyment is a 6 out of 10. I like it. The enjoyment I have from it is mainly for the mainly for Jacques, but also the whole marriage crisis between Marge and Homer, because I believe this is the first proper marriage crisis. Episode 10 is Homer's Night Out. Yay, another marriage crisis. Story is a 5 out of 10. Homer goes to a bachelor party and gets his picture taken next to an exotic dancer. We will say exotic because I'm not allowed to say the actual word. Thank you, YouTube. And then it gets spread around the town. Marge gets annoyed with Homer and kicks him out and says that you're going to need to take Bart to see this exotic dancer and apologize for treating her like an object. I'm just thinking, okay, this is one of the episodes I have a nostalgic attachment to as well. And I'm just thinking, what about everyone else in that party? Like, okay. Humor is a 5 out of 10. Like, I mean, it's funny at times, but it's funny at times, then it gets sentimental, and then it just dies. Honestly, most of the episode when I'm watching it, it's just like this. Yeah, I was just watching it, waiting for it to be over. Sentimentality is a 6, and that's mainly because of, well, the whole marriage crisis thing, but also at the end where Homer gives his speech saying of how women aren't objects and all that. And then for some reason Marge was there. I don't know why she was at an exotic dancers club, and considering the whole thing, but okay. But that was convenient, but that was another ending which I liked, but come on, Life on the Fast Lane, better ending. But sentimentality, 6 for this episode. Enjoyment is a 5 out of 10. So the enjoyment there, I like it. I have nostalgia to it, but would I rewatch it when I know there's a better Marriage Crisis episode before? No. Also, just because I'm thinking I did not say it, the total for Life on the Fast Lane is 24 out of 40, and the total for Homer's Night Out is 21 out of 40. Episode 11 is Crepes of Wrath. Story is a 6 out of 10. Bart injures Principal Skinner's mum was he was taking her around the school, was also injuring his dad by having leftover toys near the top of the stairs, and Homer fell down the stairs. Both of them get enraged with Bart, so they both decide to waste tons of money just to have Bart taken to France to have like a what foreign exchange student program. I'm not going to go into the whole into the kids that comes to Springfield to spend time with the Simpsons, because that B plot is honestly kind of boring to me and I don't really enjoy it. The humor from Crepes of Wrath is 5 out of 10, and that mainly comes from the beginning and also Homer's antics when it comes to that B plot. Other than that, boring B plot. Sentimentality is a 5 out of 10. That comes from strictly Bart's sadness when it comes to where he is and the abuse, quite frankly, that he's having to deal with there. Whilst I've never been to France and I don't really know what child protection laws are like in France, I'm confident it's not making the child drink antifreeze. Which, by the way, is very, very bad. Because antifreeze is something that goes in a car, not a human's mouth. But yeah, that's where the sentimentality comes from. And whilst I am glad he got out of there, like, come on, it's a cartoon. He is obviously gonna end up with him getting out of that situation. Enjoyment is a 5 out of... Yeah, I'm checking the right episode. Enjoyment is a 5 out of 10. I mean, I enjoyed only the A plot, which is why I gave it 5. But I wasn't entirely in tune with that plot either. It's just like, oh yes, okay, time to watch it. Just checking the phone, just checking the time, how long the episode has left. I got a bit restless in this one. This is not an episode which I would relax when watching. Total is 21 out of 40. It's good, but like, it could have been better. Episode 12 is Krusty Gets Busted. Story is 7 out of 10. Krusty gets arrested for robbing the Quickie Mart, and it's up to Bart and Lisa to try and prove he's innocent. This is a subtle mystery. This is like the first proper mystery of the show, just showing of how giving hints to how Krusty is innocent and who is actually to blame. And then it just leads up to it being Sideshow Bob who was the criminal. And if you're saying spoilers, in all fairness, this episode came out in 1990, and you're saying, and like, that's 32 years ago. I'm not going to apologize for spoilers of a 32-year-old episode. But I was just thinking, oh, this is good. But if you know who Sideshow Bob is, then it's really obvious that he's obviously the person that tried to frame Krusty. So that this episode was a good mystery at the start of this whole series, but when it gets to where I am now with the series and watching it, it's very obvious that obviously it was Sideshow Bob. Sentimentality is the 5 out of 10. Honestly, it's just Bart's disappointment in Krusty, because he did have that little hint thinking, yeah, Krusty did do this, but he's just really disappointed in him, and that's pretty much it. It just ruins Bart, really. But other than that, that's it. I can't really say anything else about Sentimentality. Enjoyment is 6 out of 10. What can I say about enjoyment? I mean, I enjoyed it. I really do. It's a good mystery. And for the first episode that actually has one of my favorite characters in The Simpsons actually talking, being Sideshow Bob, obviously I like it, and I do. Also, I forgot to say, humor for Krusty Gets Busted is a 5 out of 10. Same as Sentimentality. It's funny at points, but most of the time it's just a mystery trying to figure out what's happening. The total for Krusty Gets Busted is 23 out of 40. It's a good episode, but unfortunately, due to how popular Sideshow Bob is, it's very, very obvious who is actually to blame. Moving on to the last episode of season 1, being Some Enchanted Evening. Story is a 6 out of 10. To sum up the story, Homer and Marge Homer goes all out with a night out with Marge and spends it at a hotel. Whilst Bart, Lisa, and Maggie are left in the capable hands of a babysitter. Humor is a 6 out of 10. It's funny at points, especially with Bart, Lisa, Maggie, and the babysitter. I do find it funny. And just having Homer and Marge not having to worry about all that. That's just okay. Like, it's not funny. Sentimentality is a 4 out of 10. Good episode. I mean, not very sentimental. It was sentimental at the beginning when Marge is about to just unleash on Homer with her anger at him. But then Homer comes in, shows the one flower which he was able to afford, and Marge instantly changes her mind about the whole thing, realizing that she fell in love with him for who he is. Enjoyment is a 6 out of 10 because I do enjoy the B plot with the babysitter and the kids. So that is mainly that. But other than that, nothing much else to say about this episode. And I may be rushing a bit because I don't really want to have this video hit the 45-minute mark. And considering how long the episode series 1 review is, I'm going to need to rush when it comes to the future seasons. Total for Some Enchanted Evening is 22 out of 40. It's an alright episode. Just okay, some good points, but some not good points. Grand totals are story. The story grand totals are 76 out of 130. Humor is 66 out of 130. Sentimentality 61 out of 130. And enjoyment 72 out of 130. The total is 275 out of 520. That gives season 1 52% of the scores that they achieved. I think that's a good start. They got over half, but it did kind of it was, to sum it up, it's like a roller coaster. It starts good, goes down, up, down, up, 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 down, up, up, down, down, up, and down. It's a roller coaster, this season is, and there's only 13 episodes. That's the bad thing. But if there were more episodes, I'd love to know what kind of episodes there would be that could make this more enjoyable. But being honest, I honestly think 13 episodes is just fine for series 1. It's just testing the waters of this. But anyway, let's get to the rankings. So we're going to start from my least favorite to my favorite. 13th place is The Call of the Simpsons. And when it comes to the rankings, it most of the time, or all of the time, it's just going to be relating to what scores they got on the out of 40. So 13th place is Call of the Simpsons. I honestly don't enjoy it. And it's the one episode in this season that I generally dislike. 12 is Bart the Genius. I see why people do like it, but for me, it's not really my cup of tea. 11th place is There's No Disgrace Like Home. I mean, the therapy scene is funny, but other than that, just boring. 10th place is Homer's Night Out. 9th is Crepes of Wrath. 8th is Homer's Odyssey. 7th is Bart the General. 6th is The Telltale Head. 5 is Some Enchanted Evening. 4, Krusty Gets Busted. 3, Life on the Fast Lane. 2, The Simpsons Roasting on an Open Fire. And 1, Moaning Lisa. Now, that is my list for Series 1. I stopped explaining why I put episodes where they in a spot where they are, because well, I explained each episode in the video already, and I don't want to keep on talking. I really need a drink right now. I'm probably going to question myself whether I should do season 2 today or record it today or not. I don't know, but with this list, this is how it was written when I first watched season 1. Well, when I last watched it for this video, but looking at it now, I would probably keep it where it is, actually. Keep all the episodes where they are, because like the top 6 are episodes which I generally enjoy watching. Maybe the top 7, because I do enjoy Bart the General. But the top 3 I know are staying in the top 3. And Moaning Lisa being number 1, that just because Moaning Lisa is an episode which I didn't have a nostalgic attachment to. The Simpsons Roasting on an Open Fire, however, I did. So Life on the Fast Lane was obviously going to come third place for me. But having The Simpsons Roasting on an Open Fire come second, that just shows how much I enjoyed Moaning Lisa. And with Moaning Lisa being number 1, it's mainly there for the sentimentality and the fact of, I guess it's mainly to do with Lisa's whole moment with Marge at the end. Will The Simpsons Roasting on Open Fire overtake Moaning Lisa in the future? Maybe, but as of now, it's staying where it is. And with that, I can now rest my voice for a while. That's all for this time. If you like what you saw, leave a like, leave a comment, don't forget to subscribe, press those notification bell down in the corner below. Season 2, I'm hoping will not be as long of an episode. I'm going to cut down on the explaining parts a bit. But until then, I'll see you next time.